What if I told you that the retirement math you've been taught your entire life, the classic rules of thumb you've diligently followed for decades, are actually a trap? Listen, you are not financially at risk right now just because you didn't save enough. You are at risk because the system was never actually designed for you to win. Welcome to this explainer on the USA Riff channel, where we expose exactly how money really works behind the curtain. Before we dive into this intense breakdown, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, comment your thoughts down below as we go, and support us directly by becoming a channel member.
Okay, let's get right into this, because what we are looking at today, it isn't just about simple spreadsheets or generic stock market returns. We are looking at the intense, structural financial forces that are actively working against the average retiree savings right now. And more importantly, we're going to look at how to outsmart them. The modern retirement landscape in the United States, it's a minefield, literally. It's a complex, highly calibrated machine designed to extract wealth through hidden fees, invisible taxes, and engineered behavioral mistakes. If you aren't paying absolute microscopic attention, it will drain you. To survive this system, you don't just need a bigger portfolio. You need an entirely new psychology of income.
Section 1. The Retirement Math Lie. For decades, the financial industry has aggressively sold us the 4% rule. It's this widely accepted idea that you can just safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio, adjust it for inflation every single year, and boom, you'll never run out of money. But here's the uncomfortable truth. That generic math is fundamentally flawed. It assumes you are a robot. It assumes you are completely devoid of human emotion, just executing a static plan in a wildly dynamic, chaotic world. And that brings us to the silent killer of retirement dreams: sequence of returns risk. Imagine you do everything perfectly. You save diligently for 40 years, but just by sheer bad luck, you happen to retire on the eve of a massive, devastating bear market. If you are forced to withdraw money to live while your portfolio is down 20 or 30%, you are locking in those losses permanently. You are selling off huge chunks of shares just to buy your everyday groceries. And those shares, they're gone. They can never, ever recover and grow again. This creates an inescapable mathematical trap. Even if the market averages a fantastic 10% return over the next 20 years, you could still completely go broke. Why? Because the sequence of those returns completely devastated your principal balance right at the very beginning. Now, take a look at this specific number: 4.7%. Recent, cutting-edge research by Dr. Wade Pfau points out that if you look at current Treasury inflation-protected securities, also known as TIPS, you could theoretically build a 30-year bond ladder that guarantees a 4.7% safe withdrawal rate right now. I mean, that sounds absolutely fantastic, right? A guaranteed win? But here is the massive catch they don't talk about. Banking solely on this perfectly calculated number completely ignores the volatile reality of human behavior. You can have the absolute perfect, mathematically flawless TIPS ladder, but if you panic, if you suddenly change your lifestyle, or if you fall into one of the government's hidden traps, that 4.7% is not going to save you. Section 2. Traps and tax cliffs. We really have to shift our focus away from just market risks and look directly at the invisible structural traps built straight into the tax code by the government. Because market volatility is one thing, but the IRS operates with cold, hard, unforgiving legislation. In retirement, your standard tax bracket is literally only half the story. The real danger, the fatal blow, lies in the cliffs. Think about this number: $20,000. This is the shocking, brutal reality of how the system actively targets retirees who aren't paying microscopic attention. In the crucial years right before Medicare kicks in, many early retirees rely heavily on the Affordable Care Act for their health insurance, utilizing massive subsidies to afford it. But those subsidies are tied to an exact, rigid income threshold. If you miscalculate your income, if you pull just one single dollar over that threshold, you hit a cliff. One extra dollar of income can instantly, automatically trigger the complete and total loss of your health insurance subsidies. That results in a sudden, catastrophic $20,000 bill. Think about that, a $1 mistake, and $20,000 is just gone.
And the crazy thing is, the ACA cliff is just the beginning of the maze. Let's break down how these overlapping cliffs create massive cascading tax impacts. Say you decide to take one extra, unplanned withdrawal from your IRA to buy a car. It doesn't just bump up your income tax bracket. No, it can push you into what's called a Medicare IMRMA surcharge, instantly making your healthcare permanently more expensive. Later in life, the government hits you with required minimum distributions, or RMDs, actively forcing unwanted, highly taxable income directly into your lap whether you need the money or not. This forced income can then quietly trigger hidden deduction phase-outs. When you start stacking all of these overlapping traps together, your effective marginal tax rate can temporarily skyrocket. You could literally be paying 50, 60, or even 70 cents on the dollar in taxes and lost benefits for that single extra withdrawal. This system aggressively and mathematically punishes retirees who aren't managing their income to the absolute penny. Section 3. The psychology of income. So the big question is, how do we actually fight back against this? True survival in this rigged system requires a profound, honest understanding of your own psychological relationship with money. You simply cannot adopt a financial plan that your brain is going to reject the second times get tough. The most crucial point of all is summarized perfectly by Dr. Wade Powell. He states, "The biggest mistake in retirement planning isn't picking the wrong withdrawal rate, it's picking the wrong retirement style." I really want you to let that sink in for a second. You can have a flawlessly engineered Wall Street-level spreadsheet, but if that plan requires you to endure stock market swings that physically make your stomach drop, you're going to panic. You will sell at the exact bottom, and you will completely break the plan. This profound realization is what led to the creation of the RISA framework, the Retirement Income Style Awareness. The RISA matrix is brilliant because it maps your core psychological beliefs directly to specific financial strategies. Think of it not as just another financial calculator, but as a deep psychological mirror. It exposes how you personally actually relate to fear, to control, and to market volatility over decades of time. It takes your internal beliefs and maps them to external strategies. Because forcing a highly safety-oriented person into an aggressive volatile stock portfolio, it's like forcing a square peg into a round hole. Eventually, under enough pressure, it simply shatters. So let's break down exactly how this matrix works. The first major psychological divide here is probability-based versus safety-first. If you are probability-based, you deeply believe in the long-term math of the stock market. You're okay accepting the chaos, the dips, the scary headlines, the crashes. They don't break you because history tells you that over a 30-year timeline, the market will always provide. But if you are safety-first, that long-term historical logic does absolutely nothing to calm your heart rate when the market drops 1,000 points in a day. You have a visceral biological need for absolute contractual guarantees. You want to know for a fact that your essential living expenses, your food, your shelter, your healthcare, are fully covered by an income stream that you literally cannot outlive. You want that income entirely divorced from whatever Wall Street happens to be doing today. The second divide is optionality versus commitment. Are you someone who absolutely demands maximum flexibility? Do you want complete hands-on control over every single dollar, always reserving the right to change your entire strategy at any given moment to adapt to whatever surprises life throws at you? Or, on the flip side, do you actually find peace in commitment? Do you prefer the deep comfort of a locked-in, unchangeable plan where the heavy lifting is completely taken out of your hands, a plan that allows you to just go live your life, travel, and relax without having to actively manage what is essentially a small investment business well into your 80s? Section 4. The 4 retirement profiles. When we actually intersect these specific psychological traits, we uncover the brutal reality of who wins and who loses. These are the 4 distinct RISA survival strategies. If you want probability and optionality, you land in the total return quadrant. If you want probability, but you really crave commitment, you use time segmentation. If you want safety first combined with optionality, you are looking at what's called a risk wrap. And finally, if you demand safety first through absolute total commitment, you belong in income protection. We are going to break these down microscopically right now so you can see exactly what kind of system you are signing up for. Let's start with the total return quadrant, which often utilizes a hardcore strategy like the Guyton-Klinger guardrails. This entire system relies heavily on the stock market performing well. You set an initial withdrawal rate. If the market surges, hey, you get a raise, you get to increase your spending. But if the market drops drastically, you hit a mathematical guardrail and you are forced to permanently decrease your spending. I want you to really think about the heavy cognitive demands of this. Imagine you are 85 years old. The stock market is plunging. The news is terrifying. Do you have the emotional discipline and the mental sharpness to execute complex mathematical guardrails, purposefully taking a massive pay cut when inflation is raging all around you? If you can handle that brutal reality, you get to keep all your capital. If you can't, this strategy will absolutely terrify you. Now, let's contrast that with the complete opposite corner. Income protection. This strategy uses a fascinating mechanism called mortality credits. By purchasing a lifetime income annuity, you are literally pooling your personal longevity risk with thousands of other anonymous people. Those who unfortunately pass away early actually end up subsidizing those who live well into their 90s.
This completely locks in an unbreakable contractual income floor that covers all of your essential living expenses. Because your basic day-to-day survival is absolutely guaranteed by a massive insurance company, it completely frees up the rest of your portfolio. You can invest whatever assets you have remaining hyper-aggressively for massive growth, confidently knowing your lights will never, ever be shut off. But the catch is, you have to give up a chunk of your capital permanently to buy that guarantee. Next up is time segmentation, which you might know widely as the bucket strategy. This is perfectly designed for visual thinkers who want that big market growth, but desperately need a structured commitment to feel safe. You literally segment your money across time. Bucket 1 is purely cash. It's enough to survive the next 1 to 2 years, guaranteed. Bucket 2 is a ladder of highly safe bonds covering your expenses for years 3 through 10. And then Bucket 3 is your long-term equities. The granular mechanics here provide massive, massive emotional comfort. Because when the stock market inevitably crashes, you don't panic. You don't rush to sell your stocks at a loss. You simply live off the cash and bonds you've already safely set aside, giving your equities years and years to fully recover. You aren't sacrificing all of your market upside, but you are creating an ironclad psychological buffer against that devastating sequence of returns risk we talked about earlier. Section 5, the price of protection. But what if you are sitting there thinking, I want it all? What if you want the massive upside of the stock market, but you also demand the rock-solid safety of a guaranteed floor? Welcome to the risk wrap style. This is typically implemented using incredibly complex variable or fixed index annuities that have specialized income riders attached. And let me tell you, the pitch from the financial industry is incredibly seductive. You get a guaranteed lifetime income floor, but your money supposedly stays in the market to capture all the upside. It sounds like the perfect holy grail. But remember what we said. The system never gives you something for nothing. The exorbitant, often hidden fees baked deeply into these complex products will quietly drag down your returns year after year after year. The incredibly strict surrender charges lock your money away in a vault, destroying your liquidity when you might need it most. And if we happen to enter a massive roaring bull market, the intricate caps and participation rates built into the fine print of your contract will severely, artificially limit your gains. It is the ultimate financial compromise. You buy a sleep-at-night guarantee, but you pay a steep, incredibly steep price to the financial institution that is issuing that contract. Section 6. Beyond the financial plan. We've talked deeply about the money. We've gone over the math, the hidden taxes, the psychological mapping. But listen, if we stop here, we miss the single most devastating trap of all. Because the dark truth is, you can have a mathematically flawless portfolio, perfectly optimized for every tax code in the book, and still watch your retirement slowly turn into a living nightmare. You absolutely must retire to something, not just from something. Most people out there are just running away from a job they hate. They are exhausted, but they never stop to calculate the intense, crushing psychological loss of their work-based identity. For 40 years, your job gave you a title. It gave you a built-in social circle, a clear purpose, and a highly structured, predictable routine. The very day you retire, literally overnight, all of that vanishes instantly. You are suddenly faced with 30 years of entirely unstructured, empty time. Imagine waking up on a Tuesday morning with absolutely nothing you have to do, day after day, year after year. It is genuinely staggering how quickly that supposed freedom mutates into a psychological prison. Look at these quiet, insidious threats that nobody puts on a spreadsheet. A profound, aching loss of purpose and identity, severe isolation and creeping depression as your entire former social network just evaporates, shifting household dynamics. Suddenly you and your spouse are in the exact same house 24/7, entirely disrupting the delicate rhythms of a relationship you've built over decades. And perhaps the most dangerous trap of all, untested assumptions. People always dream of selling the house, buying a massive RV, and traveling the country, only to realize 6 months in that they absolutely hate the reality of it. Testing your retirement goals before you fully commit to them, actually renting that RV for a month before liquidating your life to buy a $200,000 rig, is a crucial, non-negotiable psychological survival tactic. If you don't deliberately build a new identity, your perfectly funded, mathematically genius retirement will quietly and slowly break your spirit. And that brings us full circle today. Aligning your financial plan with your true, authentic psychological self is the ultimate goal here. Because a retirement system that is built against your innate psychological profile, a system that forces you to take on way too much risk, or conversely locks you into a restrictive contract you end up hating, or completely ignores your human need for purpose, that system will ultimately break you.
It is exactly that simple and exactly that severe. You have to hold up a mirror to yourself right now and build a plan that reflects who you truly are on a biological level, not who the financial industry aggressively wants you to be so they can collect their fees. And so I want to leave you with this final haunting reflection. The system is rigged. It is meticulously designed to siphon off your wealth through invisible tax cliffs, manufactured market chaos, and incredibly complex fees. The generic math you were taught? It's a trap. But simply knowing that is only half the battle. The real question is, are you emotionally ready to actually survive it? Have you rigorously tested your own financial psychology? And even more importantly, have you figured out exactly who you are going to be when the paychecks finally stop? Think deeply about that. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer on the USARIF channel. If you found this exposing, deep dive look at the real truth of money valuable today, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now. Hit the like button on this explainer, leave a comment down below with your thoughts on exactly which RISA quadrant you think you belong in, and please support us directly by becoming a channel member so we can keep exposing the truth. Until next time, stay focused.